Welcome back. The draft is over and it's time for Best Ball Christmas. It's everybody's favorite time of the year. It's time to get back into Best Ball. So, if you are new to Best Ball and want to learn about it, want to get started, stick around and we will have your introduction to Best Ball on the IDP Plus Best Ball podcast. Welcome in to the Draft Lab. I'm Joel Wirth, and this is the IDP Plus Best Ball podcast. Like I said, the draft is over, and it is the best time of the year. It is time to get into Best Ball. You know, I started doing this show about a year ago, just a little bit over a year ago, and we kind of just dove head first into the deep end of the pool, talking about Best Ball, doing the portfolios and all that stuff. And it occurred to me that maybe we should take a step back. Maybe we should just let's ease people in. Let's get people into the shallow end of the pool. If you're one of those people who's not a best ball degenerate like me and like the rest of us, and wondering, what are these people doing? They're drafting or fantasy football teams in March and April and May. How does that happen? How does that work? So if you want to get into that, and you should, because it's great, it's fun, it's probably the hottest thing in fantasy football, probably the hottest thing in fantasy sports, honestly. If you want to get into best ball, if you want to learn about best ball, this is the place to do it. This is the podcast for you, the intro to best ball. So let's talk about it. What is best ball? Best ball is basically a draft and hold format. So what that means is you're going to draft a team, and that's it. Basically, that's all you do with the team. There's no transactions. There's no waivers. There's no trades, no pickups, no drops, no anything like that. The team you draft is the team that you're going to have for the rest of the season. Obviously, you can draft more than one, and we'll talk about that kind of portfolio thing. But there's also no lineup setting, and that this is really the important thing. And this is where the name comes from. The name Best Ball comes from the fact that you are not going to have to set a lineup. So you're never going to have to worry about, do I take the the established guy, or do I take the kid with the young or the better matchup this week? And I miss out on the 3 touchdown game, but I took a 0 in the wrong place. You never have to worry about that. You automatically get your best players in your lineup, in your roster, from your roster in your lineup each week to give you the highest scoring team possible. So you normally have a little bit bigger roster size than a typical, say, redraft teams can have 15, 16 players. Most best ball teams are going to have 18 or 20. So you're going to have a few, obviously we're drafting in March, we're drafting in April, we're drafting in May. Things are going to happen between now and the season. Things are going to happen during the season, and with no waivers, with no trades, there's going to be holes. So we need a bigger roster size. If someone gets hurt, you need to be able to cover that. So that's basically the gist of it. You're drafting a team, and that's the team you have for that contest for the rest of the year. And that's basically it. That's what makes it so fun, is you can just draft a bunch of teams and you just let them go, and you never have to worry about them until, week 14, week 17, whatever it is. If it's a season long, if it's a playoff league, you just keep going. You just watch them, see what happens, and there's really no management. And that's the great thing is it's easy. You're doing the work now, and it's paying you off later. So that's the fun part. So let's talk about season long versus playoff formats and the different contests. Season long is just that. It's you are accumulating points each week, and they add up cumulatively throughout the season. And at the end of the season, whoever has the most points in that particular contest, that particular tournament, wins the contest. So it's pretty straightforward, right? You're just adding up points, no head to head. It's just your team against all the other teams throughout the course of the season. And there's also a playoff format. And this is the fun. To me, this is the real fun part of best ball, is the playoff format. So basically the way playoff formats work is it's a pod format. So you accumulate points through week 14. You are competing against the teams that you drafted against in that contest. So most drafts are going to be 12 players. Some are 10. Some can be smaller than that, but most of the time, in most cases, it's going to be 12 players, and you're just going to draft against those 12 players, and you're going to compete with those players through the first 14 weeks of the season. Then you get into the playoffs and the pod format. So you're basically going to some number of each draft pod are going to advance. So depending on the site that you're drafting on, it may be 1 out of the 12 that you draft with advance. It may be 2 out of the 12 to draft with advance. Sometimes it's 3 or something like that. Most of the time it's 1 or 2. So you need to be, one of the top 2 teams in your draft pod to advance, and then you're going to be repaired, right? So for the next week, you're going to be repaired with another pod of 12 to 16, 15 players, something like that. And you generally need to be the top scorer of that week to advance to the next week. Now, in a pod format, nothing that happens before that playoff pod week matters, right? You start at 0. So you play through week 14. You're one of the top 2 teams in your draft. You advance into the playoffs. Starts all over at that point. There is nothing. There's nothing that matters before that, or nothing that happened before that matters. It's just you played to week 14. You advance. That's it. Now you start at 0, and all that matters is your playoff points for week 15, 16, 17, whatever it is. So most tournaments will go, you compete against your draft pod through week 14. Then you'll have another repod or repair for week 15. You'll repair through week 16. And then if you advance from week 16, you'll go on to a large seat final. Now that can be anywhere from 20 players to, if you're in a big tournament, one of the major tournaments that we'll talk about in a little bit, that could be 500, 600 people. So these big tournaments, they're really tough. They're really tough to win, but there's big money on the line. There's legitimately life-changing money at the end of these things if you can win one of these big tournaments. So very cool, very fun. It's a lottery ticket, sure, but it's how much fun is it to buy a lottery ticket at the store? It's not fun. You're drafting. What could be more fun than drafting? What do we love more than drafting? Nothing. Drafting's the best. So that's fine. It's a lottery ticket, but it's a fun lottery ticket. So just think about it that way. And you can, there's some expected value here. There's money. It's not just the winner who gets big money. There's also prizes coming down the line. So you can, if you manage your teams, if you manage your portfolio, you can make some money at this. So, but again, it's a lottery ticket. There's life-changing money at the end of it, but you're doing something that's a lot more fun than just telling me to give me a quick pick, or it's filling in little squares with numbers on it in a Powerball or something like that. Way more fun this way, and it's just so much fun. So let's talk about one of the ways you can play Bestball is with our partner, Fast Draft, and you can go to fastdraft.app. This is one of the newest sites for playing Bestball. Very cool. We'll talk about them in a little bit, but you can go to fastdraft.app, download the app, and put in promo code +Joel when you sign up, and you get a deposit match of up to $50. So you deposit $50, you get $50 in free play. So can't go wrong with that. Fast Draft, very cool. Just started I think it was last year. They started out, and we'll talk about them when we get to the different sites you can play at. All kinds of very different, unique, and very cool places or types of tournaments that they have. So shout out to our friends at Fast Draft. You probably know them. Matt Kelly and the folks at Player Profiler kind of put this together. So very cool. And I've been having a lot of fun drafting in Fast Draft. Check it out. Promo code +Joel for a $50 deposit match. And like I said, we'll be talking about them in a little bit. So let's move on to rosters, lineups, and scoring. So like I said, most rosters, your roster size is going to be 18 or 20 players, depending on where you play. You go to Underdog, it's 18. You go to DraftKings, it's 20. Just depends on where you play. But so that depends on the site. But almost all sites will have an 8-player starting lineup each week. So that's going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 flex. That can be a running back, wide receiver, or tight end. There are some super flex tournaments. In super flex tournaments, you usually replace one of those wide receiver spots with a super flex spot that can be a second quarterback. Big super flex fan of Dynasty. So I do love those quite a bit. But most tournament best ball tournaments are single quarterback, but you can find some super flex, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, and the sites that have those. But that's your standard starting lineup that you have to fill each week: is one quarterback, two running backs, three receivers, a tight end, and a flex spot. So you're going to build your roster in order to kind of meet those requirements. You're going to have a certain number of quarterbacks, you're going to have a certain number of running backs, a certain number of wide receivers, knowing that you need one more receiver each week than running back. Only one, you can only start one tight end, you can only start one quarterback, but there's going to be a flex spot in there. So you need to build your lineup with the understanding that you need to fill those roster spots. But that's how you play each week. Is just your highest scoring of each of those positions gets put into your starting lineup, and you move on. Move on to the next week. Scoring is going to be site dependent. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It can be half PPR. It can be full PPR. There's bonuses sometimes. Depends on, you're going to want to check where you sign up, where you're playing at for their scoring format. But most will be half PPR. We'll talk about that in a little bit when we talk about where to play. So where do you want to play best ball? The most popular place to play best ball, I think, is Underdog Fantasy. And these guys have done a great job. Their contest, Bestball Mania 6, just came online. It's probably the biggest deal in best ball, is Bestball Mania 6. It's a $2 million prize to the winner. It's $1 million to second place. They've added prizes this year. So if you're the highest scoring team in the regular season, you get $100,000. That's really cool. So you get a little bit extra value. If you're because the pods, the pods in these playoff leagues, they can be brutal. You can be like I said, you start from scratch. You can be the highest scoring team, and you start from zero in the playoffs. And so if you have a tough week, if you have a good week, it's just not the best week, you can just be wiped out. So very cool for Underdog that they're giving you a bonus for depending on how you finish in the regular season, if you're one of the top finishers in the regular season. So that is very cool. New this year in Bestball Mania 6. Underdog is a half PPR format. So it's very touchdown heavy. That's your best form of scoring in half PPR. PPR obviously is point per reception. If you're not familiar, there's no such thing as PPR. It's very old school touchdown heavy league, and that's what these are similar to, because you don't have as many points for. It's just yards, receptions, half point per reception, and then touchdown scoring. So, but that's the primary form of scoring on Underdog. Bestball Mania 6, like I said, is their main tournament, but they also have different forms of tournaments and different contests. They have the Marathon, which is a full season contest. So just weeks 1 through 17, whoever has the most points wins. They have a Sprint, which is a playoff format. So you play weeks 1 through 14, and then weeks 15 through 17 are just grouped into basically one pod. So you have to you advance through week 14 into the playoffs, and then if you're the highest scoring team of the 3 weeks, you win that tournament. So very cool there. They also have a weekly winners, which is basically $100,000 every week. It's split up between the top finishers. So there's no playmat, there's no playoffs. You're just playing each week is a separate contest. So if you want to play that way, that's very cool. They also have the Eliminator. Now, this is one of my favorite tournaments. We did an entire show on this last year. Basically, you draft with a 12-player draft pod. In week 1, 6 of the 12 players advance. And then this is new this year. Every week after that, it's just head-to-head. 1 out of 2. Straight up, you and your opponent. If you outscore your opponent, you move on to the next week. Outscore your opponent, move on to the next week. Outscore your opponent, move on to the next week. No pods, just head-to-head after that first week of where 6 of the 12 advance. So really cool format, really fun. Can't wait to do that. I'm not going to draft those yet because bye weeks are absolutely huge in the Eliminator format. So I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to wait. but the schedule comes out in about 10 days or so, a week and a half or so. So can't wait for that. Can't wait to get into the eliminators. And we will be doing another show on that once the bye weeks are announced, once the schedule comes out. We'll be hitting that pretty hard because, like I said, that is one of the funnest sweats, one of my favorite formats. And we will be talking more about that in the future. And then you have smaller, on Underdog, smaller kind of time box tournaments. The puppy, the schnauzer, different various dog names, which is kind of fun. These are going to be smaller field tournaments, so they're going to fill real quick. Like Bestball Mania is 600,000 plus players. That's going to last, it's going to last up until the season, until that thing fills. So these smaller kind of time box tournaments, they're going to fill quicker. So, it may just be, through the month of May, through the month of June, something like that. So instead of having an entire spring and summer and training camp to kind of build your teams and draft your teams and get your portfolio straightened out that way, you're going to be basing off those teams off of limited information. They're going to be filling real fast, and there'll be different versions of those, right? There'll be the puppy 1, the puppy 2, the puppy 3, the puppy 4, puppy 5, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you can kind of get in different ones until give you kind of a different picture of a different snapshot in time of throughout the preseason. So those are fun, very cool. Love doing those as well. Now, I want to take a second to talk about the fact that I am broadcasting from Canton, Ohio, the home of the Hall of Fame. And August 8th through the 10th is the Fantasy Football Expo, and you want to be there. Get your tickets now. Go to the fantasyfootballexpo.com. Get your tickets. It is the best weekend in fantasy football. The parties, the drafts, the Kings Classic draft is going on to get the Fans Classic this year. So much cool stuff that Bob Long and Nate Cheatham put together. This is just an incredible, incredible event every year. I've been going for the past, since I moved here, basically, back in 2021. So I think this will be my 5th year. Love it. It's my favorite weekend of the year every year. So if you love fantasy football, and obviously you do because you're watching the show, check out, if you get a chance and you're available that weekend, August 8th through the 10th, check out the Fantasy Football Expo. fantasyfootballexpo.com. It is the best weekend in fantasy football, and you do not want to miss it. All right, so let's go to the other most famous place to play, famous, to play best ball is DraftKings. You know DraftKings from if you play DFS, if it's legal where you live. DraftKings is a little bit different because they are full PPR scoring. So you basically use their DFS scoring. Full PPR, they have bonuses for 300 yard passing games, 100 yards rushing, 100 yards receiving, so stuff like that. So very different scoring. They have a 20 team or 20 player roster, which different from Underdog. Underdog uses 18 players, so a little bit different there as well. It's really amazing how that difference in scoring and roster size can make drafts just go completely different. So if you're someone who drafts on Underdog and drafts on DraftKings, you kind of have to reconnoiter yourself because it is just a very different draft environment. So that's kind of fun as well. I just kind of switch in between the two different formats. And if you are a member, if you play DFS on DraftKings, check your email because they usually have promos where you can enter a best ball draft and get one free, stuff like that. So very cool of them to do that. And you can't go wrong, right? You buy one draft, you get one free. That's awesome. So check that out if you're a DraftKings DFS player and DraftKings user. Other places you can play, there's Drafters, full PPR format, and that's a season-long tournament. Drafters pretty new. I don't know if it's been around a couple years. They also have pick'em games, stuff like that. Not legal where I am, but if it is where you are, you can do that. So Drafters is a cool site. You'll see a lot of people streaming drafts there. Again, that's a season-long tournament, though. So no playoffs there, just a season-long high-score tournament. There's the FFPC, which you may know from Dynasty. They do run a lot of Dynasty leagues. They run a lot of high-stakes fantasy football leagues. So if you want some high-stakes best ball, FFPC is kind of the place to do it. They also have they have a big PPR tournaments, or they're PPR scoring, but they have a Superflex tournament. So if you're someone like me who likes to play the Superflex format, Underdog will have a few of those. They'll have like Superflex puppies and stuff like that, but they're pretty limited. There's only a couple of them. So if you want to get into a big Superflex tournament, you usually want to go to FFPC because that's one of their promo things that they use. And then another place to play, like I said, our partners at Fast Draft. These are 10-player drafts, so a little bit different there. And they have some very cool, very unique formats. They have rookies only, which is super fun, especially around draft time. If you're a dynasty player like me, you want to get some practice in for your dynasty drafts, see how it's going to go. Dynasty rookie drafts. That's a very cool format. Underdog used to do a rookies and sophomores format. They didn't do that this year. Hope that will come back next year, but we'll see. But that is fun, drafting just the rookies. They also have, for us here at IDP Plus, they have an IDP only format, defensive player only format. So that's cool. Love doing that. That's what I've been jamming since I've been on Fast Draft. Those IDP tournaments, a lot of fun, and you get some just wild swings in those drafts. So because everybody looks at IDP differently. So very cool to have those very different, very unique formats. And they also have something that's kind of unique on Fast Draft is they have multipliers. So you draft your team now, and then each player gets a multiplier, so a scoring multiplier. So like up to 1.5x their scoring, but you don't have to set that until right before the season starts. So you can draft now, and you get some good news on a player, you can give them a high multiplier. If you get some bad news on a player, you give them a lower multiplier. So very cool stuff there. I encourage you to check out Fast Draft, one of the fastest growing sites. And like I said, if you're looking for a different kind of unique format, rookies only, IDP, stuff like that, very cool. Check out fastdraft.app. So that's really it. That is the intro to Bestball. If you want more information, I'll have this kind of written up in article form, so you can kind of refer back to it. If you're just getting started in Bestball, have some additional information in there. You can check that out on the site, idpplus.com. Get in there now, check it out, get a subscription while you can, because you're going to want to be subscribed to IDP Plus. We've got a lot going on. A lot of it, cool stuff going on behind the scenes. Can't really talk about right now, but just trust me when I say there's a lot of cool stuff coming on, and you're going to want to be subscribed anyway. If you were there last year, you know how many tools, how much information, all the articles, all the advice, the Discord access. So much value comes with a subscription to IDP Plus. So check it out, and you can check out the article for this podcast when it drops later this week. So that's it. We'll be talking later on. Our next show will be about now that you know what Bestball is and where to go to play, how to play it. We're talking about building some kind of cohesive, structurally sound lineups in a big tournament like Bestball Media, 600,000 people. You can't just go, well, I'm just going to take the best player at each draft spot. It's not going to work. You need some very structured, very structured, very sound lineup building strategies to kind of set yourself apart and get yourself through and into the playoffs. So we'll be talking about those next time on the IDP Plus Bestball podcast. Thanks for checking us out. I'm Joel Wirth. You can find me on the Blue Sky and on the Twitter at *TheJoelWirth. Always happy to talk Bestball. So shoot me a DM if you're new to this and have any questions, anything else I can answer for you, anything you're unsure of before you get started, any advice you want, how to get started, shoot me a DM. Love to talk to you. Again, find me on the Blue Sky and the Twitter at *TheJoelWirth. And we will be back next time with more info on how to build structural lineups, how to structure your lineups in Bestball, next time on the IDP Plus Bestball podcast.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.